Didn't feel that. No! Ow!
Oh my God.
Ow! Whoa! That'll wake you up in the morning, baby. Guys, I can tell you right now,
Guys are so
ready to release
nuts.
baseball. Hello, everyone. This is
Boys.
watermelon hail.
Doesn't look like it may not be on the ground right now. So Dick Worsham.
Hello.
Dude, I can't. I just can't with that name.
Just 1 second. All right, Brady's taking over. You got double check this out, guys. Double stream. You can hear me. We're streaming the stream.
How are you doing tonight, Phoenix of the gods?
Oh my! Not what I was thinking.
Guys, let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Thank you, Dan. There's your storm right there. There's your storm. There's your Vince. Storm, Vince. Storm, Vince. I don't know, guys. This is pretty good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Vince? Storm. Oh, we got a lot of people checking in the chat. Harley got a different setup right now,
The area of greatest concern that I have is right just to the south of downtown Westerville. That's moving over top of you guys right now as we speak. This is if we get really granular. I was looking at a house here yesterday to buy. So this is an area that is close to home for me. I have family that lives here. I have family that lives out in New Albany. I have friends that live all over this place. So that's, I guess.
ready to cook, chat.
And now, your local on the Meower.
This is Dave's place right here, guys.
I mean, Boat Guy. Phil, you're behind Boat Guy. He's going to get you through this. People in the chat are loving Boat Guy. Jess, Ginger Ninja, the return of the boat. Andrew Johnson, you can always trust the guy with the boat. I'm telling you, this guy, Eric Gray, that guy is going.
Hey, what's up, guys? Meteorologist Stormcat 5 here. I am not in my usual setup. I'm actually transferring all of my stuff over to a different setup, so I've got a little bit of putting a little bit of patchwork in here today. But guys, I wanted to do a live today, and I might be doing this tomorrow. I might be doing this every day. We will see how this goes. But I wanted to do a live just to go into possibly Hurricane Sara. Right now, it's not even Sara yet, but I wanted to go into what the details are, what you can expect, especially if you live in Florida. I think the idea is to have this be alive, but also be a video that people can watch after to know exactly what we know right now about Sara, and what the future will hold. Because guys, there's been a lot of changes in the past 24 hours with Sara. And let me go ahead and show you first what Sara is right now, because it's not Sara. It's a potential tropical cyclone 19. The National Hurricane Center does this when they have a system that they aren't ready to, it isn't necessarily a tropical depression or tropical storm, but they're pretty confident it's going to be, right? It's got a central pressure of 107 millibars. Winds are about 30 miles an hour, so it's getting organized, and it's moving west at about 6 miles an hour. So that's why, I'm calling it Sara, because in my mind it is Sara already, and it's going to become Sara. That's a pretty much a foregone conclusion, either tonight or tomorrow morning. But right now, it's just potential tropical cyclone 19. Guys, I want to thank everyone that's tuning in the chat, everyone that's on YouTube, everyone that's on Twitter. I hope today really just, we're only going to stream for about 30 minutes or an hour, and I want to cover everything that I know right now on this system, where it's going to go, what the trends are, right? The trends have been good for some, not good for others, but that's really what I want to cover today. And I want to show you first what potential tropical cyclone 19, or Sara, looks like. I actually dated a girl named Sara at one point. She was a very nice girl. But this Sara is a little bit meaner, I think. And this is what Sara looks like currently. This system it's just been absolutely bulldozing its way west. If you can see right here, right in here's kind of where a lot of convection is just absolutely its way off to the west, and that's, I think, really why a lot of the models today have this thing further to the west. I think a lot of models yesterday, excuse me, had this, especially the GFS model, had a really scary situation where they had a really strong hurricane developing and then moving and staying over the warm waters of the Caribbean, and then kind of shooting that gap between the Yucatan and Cuba. Today, they've kind of backed off of that. So we're going to get at all those details here. But this is what potential tropical cyclone, or Sara, looks like currently. I'm also going to bring in Dan as well. We got Agent Dan joining us. So Dan, welcome to the stream. We'll keep you there, and I'll kind of bring you in. I'll let you get your audio figured out. Dan, are you all good? Are we cooking?
You tell me.
Yeah, look, you came in a little hot there, I think, or maybe that's just my volume. My volume's pretty high. But yeah, I can hear you great. Guys, everyone give a lot of love to Agent Dan in the chat. Spam those Agent Dan emotes. We got Amy. We got Caitlin checking in with the Agent Dan emotes. We got Amy's also checking in, lurking while wrapping up at work. I love that. We got Dark Girl spamming Agent Dan emotes as well. We got Carly checking in as well. So thank you guys for joining today. We've got a packed show to cover. So, Dan, before I go into this forecast, have you been following Sara and all of the different forecasts that have been happening? What's your initial gut feel on this system?
Well, first, is my audio any better, or am I still pretty hot?
Yeah, you're good. I turned it down, but your audio's great.
Okay, appreciate it. Haven't really had a lot of opportunity to follow 19, but with what's happening this year, anything's possible.
I would completely agree with that, Dan. And I do want to show you guys, just give you the what this looks kind of like, looks more like on satellite. So just to show you where this is, if you haven't seen, right? If you look on screen right now, I'm just going to draw a circle. Florida's all, why does it keep doing that? Florida's all the way up here. So Florida is well to the north of this system. If I draw a little someone at the beach over here with a nice little umbrella. People are over here in Florida at the beach, and they're just kind of hanging out. That's supposed to be an umbrella. But this system is hundreds of miles right now to the south, and you can very clearly tell, even more than when you looked at it on the infrared satellite. This system is rotating, right? See that right there, that spin? So it is clearly rotating, and it is getting more organized. And even on the backside, right? It's clear. It's a broad center of circulation right now that has this big burst of convection here. It also has some convection to the south, but the big driving force in pushing this thing to the west is this particular blob of convection right there. And I think that's actually why this system is pushed a little bit further to the west, because this blob has really driven it further off to the west. Now, the other big update is the National Hurricane Center just an hour ago, they issued their first cone on this system. So here's what the first cone looks like. Let me go ahead and show you here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this a little bit better. So the first cone from the Hurricane Center has only, and normally guys, when the Hurricane Center puts out its first cone for a system, they're pretty conservative, right? So they only have this system getting up to tropical storm strength and then moving into Mexico and Belize as a tropical storm, and they have that at 1 p.m. on Monday. Now, the other thing to note is they do have hurricane watches they put up on the kind of northeast coast of Honduras. So there's a couple of different scenarios that we could be looking at. If you guys watched my latest video, you saw those two scenarios at play. Those are very much both at play right now. So we're going to get into all that, but this is the latest cone from the Hurricane Center. Now, the interesting thing you'll note is they don't show where it's going to go after it emerges from Mexico, if it does in fact take that route. I think yesterday a lot of the models had it taking this route, right? Actually, it was more like this into southwest Florida, and that was going to be big time trouble, because as you can see, that path takes it over the water. There's no really interaction with land on that particular path. And that's why a lot of the models that we saw yesterday were showing Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5 for Sara, and then eventually hitting Florida as possibly a major hurricane. Today that has changed. And today the thinking is a lot of the models have shifted west and actually have more of a track like this, more of a kind of a left swinger here and impacting Mexico as a possibly a hurricane, possibly a tropical storm. The unfortunate news about this particular scenario that's unfolding is, I think regardless of what happens, the northeast coast, especially the northeast portions of Honduras, are going to see some very significant rain. They're going to sit, because this system is going to sit and sit and sit over that northeast coast, and it's going to drop a lot of rain and a lot of wind in that area. So unfortunately, this is almost worst case scenario for Honduras. I mean, we're talking, look at this. It arrives off the coast on Thursday and it sits there till Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't even move until really Sunday night. So that is, I think regardless of what happens here, Honduras is not looking good. If you do have people that you know interest in Mexico, maybe a friend is in Cancun, maybe you have family or friends in Belize, or anyone's on vacation there, you should let them know this will be an impactful system for, even if this thing does take kind of the right edge of this cone, it still is going to be impactful for those in Cancun, Mexico, Belize, anyone really in this, the Yucatan Peninsula, in this kind of southern tip of Mexico. So guys, also everyone in the chat, please ask questions. I know a lot of you are up to date on the latest weather, but if you do have a question for me or for Dan, it could be serious. It could be there's no stupid questions here, right, Dan? I mean, you know how many questions I ask on the show, so there's no stupid questions here on Outbreak. But feel free to let us know in the chat what questions you guys got about this system. All right, so next, what I want to show is I want to go, first of all, if you haven't checked this website out before, Tropical Tidbits is absolutely amazing. They've got essentially a page for every storm that's out there. So our storm that we're following right now is soon to be Sara. Right now it's 19L, which is not a great name if you're looking to tell your friends about it. Like, oh yeah, I'm watching 19L. They're like, what? It's going to be Sara, so I just have been calling it Sara. But you can go and select different storms on this page, and it's really great. And then you go and it'll actually select it. The interesting thing today is the shift that's taken place from yesterday and from last night to today. This is the latest spaghetti models that we have now. This is a really good graph to just kind of show you what a lot of the models are thinking and where they have this system going. And yesterday, I mean, most of the models had, and I'll actually pull that up for my Twitter feed because I actually showed it yesterday. But most of the models actually had them really staying in kind of that gap between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba. Today, that is not the case. All of these models, pretty much every single model, has shifted to the west, and now very much, basically all of them have this storm moving, kind of sitting down here right off Honduras, and then late in the week, probably Sunday or Monday, it's starting to slingshot to the north. And what's going to happen, guys, if this, a lot of you that have seen my tweet about scenario 1 versus scenario 2, this is scenario 2. And this is better for Florida. This is worse for Honduras, worse for Mexico potentially. But generally, this solution is a little bit better for Florida. If this plays out, what's going to happen is this storm's going to kind of sit off the coast here, start to strengthen it slowly, potentially, depending on how close it gets to the coast. If it's right on the coast of Honduras, it's going to struggle to strengthen rapidly. But the further north it is from the coast, the more likely it is to strengthen. Having said that, once it's going to slowly strengthen into a tropical storm, push into Mexico, either as a tropical storm or hurricane, right? That we don't know just yet. Once it does that, it's going to move over land, and once it moves over the Yucatan Peninsula, that is a big enough chunk of land that's going to keep the strength down. Because we don't have a hurricane over warm water, it's going to be over land. That may, and a lot of the models have it, almost taking and ripping the system apart, so that when it does emerge from Mexico, it's a much less organized system. It probably isn't a hurricane, and then slides to the, and it'll slide to the north and east. Strengthening at that point is possible once it emerges into the Gulf of Mexico, but it's going to have a lot harder time because it doesn't have its act together, right? That's like, we're baking a cake here, and we don't have a couple of the key ingredients. So when you try and put it in the oven, if you don't have a couple ingredients, it's not really going to work, right? You kind of have to, you've got to stir and get the cake kind of in. I'm not a baker by any means, so I'm trying my best here. But it's like when you put a cake, put all the ingredients together, you maybe, don't put a couple things, you try to bake it, it's not going to bake, right? If you don't put flour in it, it's not going to bake well. That's kind of what's going on if this system were to go over the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It's just not going to have when it emerges, it's not going to be a fully formed system. It's going to struggle to form. I'm not saying it still could form a hurricane in the Gulf, right? We've seen crazier things happen. Look at Rafael. But for the most part, I think it'll probably struggle and keep the ceiling about a little bit lower. So that's the latest model that we have. The latest models that we have. These are the 18Z models. Now I do want to also show the intensity models as well. So the intensity models have also backed off significantly from yesterday. And I'll kind of show you the difference that we were seeing yesterday versus the differences that we were seeing today. And I'll pull that up and show. But these are the current intensity models, and with the latest thinking, right? With that track going over the Yucatan Peninsula, a lot of these models have only, right, the strongest models only have this system getting to a category 2. And, notably the ship model, as well as, all the hurricane models are a little bit lower. I think the ship model actually does take this up to a category 2, but then has it weakened. But a lot of the models are like a low-end Cat 1, even a tropical storm. And so that, I think, is mostly due to the fact that we're expecting, at least a lot of the models are expecting right now, this system to stay over the Yucatan Peninsula. And that's going to cause the ceiling of this thing to really lower, right? But before we had probably 20-foot, Cat 5 ceiling. If this trend holds, which it's looking like it is, we're more talking around a Cat 1, Cat 2 ceiling, and a much weaker system possibly impacting Florida. So that is good news for those in Florida. Not as good news for those that are in Central America, Honduras, that are going to be impacted by this system. Now, I think probably the most important thing to note, and if you take one thing from this show, is I want to show you the difference between the GFS ensemble and the Canadian ensemble, because it just shows you how we really don't know. We really don't have that good of an idea, and there still is a lot of uncertainty. So this is the GFS ensemble, and this is probably further to the right, further to the east than most. But you can see on this model, there still are several members clustered right in there, right to kind of the east, on the east side of this thing, that have it taking the uh-oh track, right? That's what I'm calling it, is the oh no, this is not good for Florida track. Any of them that have this, that have kind of them shooting the gap right there between Cuba and and Yucatan Peninsula, that is not good for Florida, because essentially Sara will keep its strength and will continue to strengthen all the way up to approach possibly and make landfall in South Florida. Now check this out. This is a different model. This is another model ensemble. It's the same time. Look at that. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. How much of a difference that is. The GFS ensemble had this basically going down here where my green arrow is. Look at the Canadian ensemble here. This has this going all the way up into the Big Bend and mostly staying relatively weak as it moves into the Big Bend. So that just shows you the differences right now in the models, and we still are in a very fluid situation. And because this system hasn't formed yet, because Sara hasn't officially formed and developed the center, we're going to see these shifts back and forth between making landfall in the Yucatan, staying in kind of that uh-oh gap right in here. So both of those scenarios are still very much at play. And unfortunately, that just means we won't know for sure what this system's going to do. I think in the next 24 to 48 hours, once Sara forms and she begins her kind of march to the north, once she starts turning to the north, we'll have a much better idea of, is this thing going to go over and stay buried in Central America, or is it going to stay in open water? And I got news for you. If it stays in open water, that is going to be trouble for Florida, because this system will then have plenty of time to strengthen all the way up until it reaches the Florida coast. So those are kind of some of the latest models that we have. Now the very interesting thing, and I was trying to see, I wanted to show actually an individual model run to show you the difference between yesterday and today. And while I pull that up, Dan, after looking at those models, I mean, it's pretty remarkable that we're in November and we are talking about possibly a landfalling hurricane somewhere in the U.S. I mean, we're in the middle of November. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, everyone needs to keep an eye on this definitely through the next few days for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you're, I've got family on the west coast of Florida. I've got friends on the west coast of Florida. So what I'm telling them, and what I'm telling everyone that's down here in South Florida, even Central Florida, it's not time to panic, right? It's not time to go to the stores and start buying and stocking up on things, because we're still a long way away. We're a long ways away from any potential impacts from this system. We really are. I mean, we're not talking about, and I'll show you what one model has to give you an idea of the timing. But we're talking about the beginning or middle parts of next week as this being possibly a problem for Florida. So a lot of change is still to come. We've got a long ways to go before we can make an official call of what strength this thing is going to be at, and where it'll make landfall. And there's no guarantee it actually will. I mean, it may fall apart in the Yucatan. So that's the important thing to know is it's time to just pay attention. That's all. And if you're watching this stream, you're doing the right job. You're doing a good job. You just keep one ear on it. I'll keep my eyes and ears on it. You don't need to do that just yet. Just kind of pay attention as it comes. All right, so here's the GFS, because I think this shows you the flip that happened today. And let me go ahead and put the I'm going to go ahead and put the pressure on just to show you the difference between yesterday and today. So this was, I'm going to go back to 0Z last night. This was a pretty bad run for Southwest Florida, for Southern Florida. I mean, this was almost like a Wilma type run. So you can see this shows you Thursday at around 7 p.m. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. This shows you about Thursday at 7 p.m. Watch what happens. This is Friday. The system just sits in the same spot right off the coast of Honduras. And because it's sitting over open water, just strengthens and strengthens. I mean, we're talking about a pressure of 949 millibars, 945 millibars. I mean, we're approaching category 4-5 status on this particular model, right? And it bombs out and kind of has a minimum pressure of 939. I mean, that's close to category 5 depending on the wind speed. And then watch what happens in this model. This model had it making landfall in Honduras, but then, or sorry, in Central America, but then continuing its march north and then slamming southern Florida as a 975 millibar. That's kind of flirting on the edge of major hurricane status. So that was last night. That was the 0Z models run it comes out around 10 or 11 p.m. for the American models. This was last night at 10. Now watch what happens when I show you the 12Z model. Look at that. One model, 12 hours apart, it now has a low of 105 millibars, which is barely a tropical storm. To give you perspective right now, Sara, which is not Sara just yet, is at 107 millibars right now, and it's not even a tropical storm. So that kind of shows you the difference. And here's the reason why. Because today, a lot of the models today shifted way west in the track of it, and it still has this system sitting off the coast of Honduras, but then it actually brings it on and almost gets pulled into Honduras, which is why we're going to have a lot of flooding rain there regardless. And once that system gets pulled into Honduras, once hurricanes or tropical systems move over land, it's trouble for the system. It has trouble organizing, and it really needs to be over warm water to strengthen. So this system doesn't go through rapid intensification and struggles to develop, and then eventually kind of pushes up into Central America, really meanders up there. Once again, is kind of torn apart by Central America, eventually kind of reforms into just a broad area of low pressure, and then moves towards Florida as a weak tropical storm, maybe not even that. And then if we show you the 18Z as well, this actually has a little bit of stronger of a system, but generally a similar story, right? On Saturday and Sunday, this system meanders off the coast of Honduras, then moves and pushes into Central America, and then moves and then eventually kind of makes landfall in Florida as a weak tropical storm, and really the impacts would be way lower. So that is one model just to show you the difference in how the trends have done today. And then if I pull up the, you can in the ensemble, because the ensemble models also have been trending way weaker, and I want to show you the members as well. This is a really good idea of exactly how, well, yeah, the interesting thing is there still is a decent amount of members that have it as a strong possible hurricane. But watch this. If I show you the difference between 12Z today versus 0Z yesterday, look at that. I mean, look at that difference. The blues and the dark blue, lower pressure. So the more dark blue you see, the lower the pressure. This is basically all 52 members of the Euro ensemble, right? And so watch the difference between that and then 12Z today. See, look at that. Look at the west. See the west tick? If you see, there's last night. This is today at noon, right? Last night, today at noon. Last night, today at noon. I can do this forever. Isn't that fun, Dan? I love doing that. But this is, once again, this is today. This was the 12Z model run earlier today. But this just shows you how really has trended pretty far west. Now, the important thing to know is, look, there still are a decent amount of models that have this thing developing in the Euro ensemble, and there's a couple of these that actually have it way closer and kind of shooting the gap there. Check that out right in the middle. See that right? Whoops, right in there. There's a couple of models that there are a couple of members in this 52 ensemble that still have this thing, kind of shooting the gap, and a lot of them actually still have it strengthening. So we're not out of the woods yet, right? For those that are in Florida, we are definitely not out of the woods yet. Yeah, sorry, Irene, I might have been confused. We're definitely not out of the woods yet. There still is the potential for this thing to shift, and because it hasn't formed yet, there's a lot of possibilities that you can have happen. But that's been the trend today, and if we look at the other ensembles, it's the same deal. If we look at the GFS ensembles here, and I just kind of show you the different members that they have, and I'll just kind of show you the pressure here. This is the 18Z. This was a 0Z. So last night, look, this is the, actually, sorry, this is just the GFS. This isn't the ensemble. Let me show you the ensemble. So this was, if I kind of show you 0Z last night, and I'll kind of bring it up to this point. This was the GFS ensemble last night. Once again, it's a collection of a bunch of models, and this is it now run today. So it's way further west. You still have some members that are pretty strong right in here, and this is actually on the right side of the forecast possibilities. But they still have a tropical storm or hurricane affecting Florida. So looking at these models, I wanted to get on this stream and show you guys what the latest models were, to kind of give you my take on it, to show you exactly what could happen. I think if I want to pull up a kind of a picture, because I tried to illustrate the two possible scenarios that are at this point still very much in play. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so these are the two scenarios that you can have for that we're going to be looking at for Sara. The scenario one, that's obviously our frowny face. That is our uh-oh scenario. This stays in the Gulf, in the Caribbean, and then moves into the Gulf as a strong hurricane, and it's going to make landfall probably in southern Florida as a strong hurricane. Scenario two is this storm moves and stays a little bit closer to Honduras, and then moves onshore in Mexico. Now, this scenario would be worse for Honduras, worse for Mexico, better for Florida, because you wouldn't have a strong hurricane emerging into the Gulf of Mexico, and this would be it would just mean that the ceiling of Sara would be lower, right? And so that's, people in Florida are kind of voting for scenario two, and definitely do not want scenario one to happen. And both are still very much in play. Scenario one yesterday looked way more likely. Scenario two today has kind of been the shift to be more likely. But right now both are possible, right? So, Dan, what do you think? Dole number two or dole number one?
Well, as much as the folks up north don't want to see another system, that might be the better of the two. Although I just kind of want it to fizzle out.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, I think, Dan, even if it goes north, a lot of the models that are up there that have it going north as a much weaker system. And like, for example, if it does take scenario two track, I really don't think we're going to have a strong hurricane, right? We may have a category one, we may have a tropical storm, but the waters in the Gulf right now they're still warm enough for a hurricane, but they're not primed for explosive development like the water is in the Caribbean. and I can kind of show you that actually right now, because that's probably another good kind of thing to show here. Because the waters right now, if we look at them, and let's just go ahead, and that's not going to show us what we want. We want to see what is the sea surface temperature. So let's check it out.
Isn't Brady providing so much great information?
Oh yeah, I am. It's so great. And I am going to end the show too with. But here's what we're looking at. This is the current sea surface temperatures. So check that out, right? Check that out in the Caribbean where Sara is currently. Like that, guys. That's bath water. I mean, you go in that water, and you might need to put sunscreen to get in the water because it's so hot you might get burned. I mean that is just scaldingly hot water. I mean, you're going down there and you're going to take a bath in that water, and you're going to, it's going to be like a hot tub, which, I don't really do hot tubs anymore because I kind of think they're gross. I don't know what you think about that, Dan, or if anyone in the chat, maybe we need to do a poll in the chat to see if they like hot tubs. But that water is just, and really that's why we were so concerned, because this water down here is primed for rapid intensification. The further north you go, though, check it out. Look how there is some warm water here in the Gulf, but everywhere else, right along the coast especially, our waters have cooled significantly from where they were earlier in the year because of just the changing seasons. They're not being as much heat in the air, and the sun isn't as strong. So what that means is if a system is not going to be able to tap into these waters, right? If Sara doesn't strengthen rapidly down here and takes this path, kind of hugs the coast, and then emerges into the Gulf right here, there's not as much fuel here. And so while a hurricane could still intensify in these waters, these reds, and there still is some pretty good, very warm water supporting a hurricane. It's not the same fuel as down in the Caribbean. And so that just means if we get a loosely organized system that emerges from this coast and then starts to slide towards Florida, it's going to have a harder time strengthening rapidly than if we get one that forms down here and then pushes and stays and forms. And guys, if it takes this path, we're in trouble, because it's going to strengthen possibly to a category 3, 4, or 5. And then when it gets in the Gulf, even if it starts to weaken as it encounters these waters, it's going to be too late, because it's already a major hurricane and it will take time to weaken. Hurricanes strengthen much faster generally than they weaken, unless you've got wind shear that's just tearing the system apart. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're watching. And that's why if this takes this track, right, the scenario 2 track, that is much better for Florida, because it's going to have a harder time strengthening rapidly than it would if it takes this track right over top of the hot tub. Danny, you a big fan of hot tubs?
I can't say that I really am.
You know what? Me neither. Me neither. Now, the other interesting thing is, too, that I want to show is and guys, please, if you're in the chat and you have questions about this system, let me know, because that's ultimately what I'm here for. But the hurricane hunters, unfortunately, I don't think we can get radar here down there to see what it's looking like. But the hurricane hunters are flying through this system now. And I think they're going to be doing so pretty regularly. And let's just see what the latest flight was. Okay, so they are flying, but it's just not reporting yet. But they are going to start flying through this system as it pushes off off to the west. And especially now that they've designated this system, you're going to get updates now every 3 hours, right? The Hurricane Center, now that they've officially given their first cone, they're going to start issuing advisories with this system. And we're going to see Sara form probably in the next 12 hours. And then the hurricane hunters are going to start flying through it pretty regularly. And once they do that, we're going to start getting a lot more data in. And a lot of these models that have kind of waffled back and forth are going to become a lot more accurate as we get some real-time data coming in to But okay, look, I mean, look how close this is to going onshore here, right? At least the center line has this almost getting to the coast of Honduras, which would, you know, if that center moves on the coast, that means we're probably going to look at scenario 2, where this thing takes this track rather than this track. Michael asked, is she going to go over land before curving up into the Gulf? It's a great question, Michael. I think right now, a lot of the models say yes, but yesterday they said no. So that's why the cone here, right? Keep in mind how the cone works is, even though there's a center line right here, the cone basically says the center of the storm could go on the very edge of the cone. So the center of the storm, in theory, could go down here, right? I can almost guarantee you that it won't. But according to the cone from the National Hurricane Center, the center of Sara could go all the way down in Central America. Now, according to the cone, the center of Sara could also take this track, right? And this is our no track for Florida. If Sara takes that track, that is not good, because it's going to strengthen and become a high-end storm and then recurve into Florida. So both of those situations are possible. Right now, though, with the latest model guidance, the Hurricane Center, National Hurricane Center, which is some of the best people in the business, has this system taking this track, which would move it over land and keep the ceiling lower. So that is the latest that we have from the Hurricane Center. And we're going to start to get advisories now about every 3 hours. And in each one of those advisories, the cone will be updated, and we'll have a little bit of a better idea about that, about where the system's going to go. Now, I did want to show you guys too, and as I'm going to go ahead and pull this up because, and here's the latest cone right now that we have. We already showed that. We showed the rainfall potential is really going to be, it's going to be brutal for, unfortunately, it could be very significant for Honduras. We could get 20, I think that's inches, right? Yeah, 20 inches of rain, possibly more in portions of Honduras, depending on how close or far the system gets to the coast. I do want to show you guys some pictures from today, because I had a friend that was down in southwest Florida, and they were just walking around, because that part of the country, south central Florida, southwest Florida, was still dealing with, they had just gotten over another hurricane, right? They just got over Milton and Helene, which devastated portions of central Florida. Southern Florida also got about 5 to 6 feet of storm surge from those storms, and they're just now, like, the beaches just opened up today. It's been a couple of weeks since Milton came, and there was some destruction, but along the beach there's still a lot of debris, and I'm just trying to pull it up right now because I thought I sent it to myself, but I didn't. But there's been a crazy amounts of like sand and debris. And let me go ahead and just pull this up and add this, and I'll send this over. Michael, I completely agree, my friend. Florida does not need another hurricane. That is accurate. Yeah, gosh, this is what it looks like right now. It's just a beautiful shot there. While I send this, Dan, it's just not sending. Oh my gosh, my Wi-Fi has been pretty brutal here. But oh, here we go. Okay, let me pull this up. Guys, is anyone in the chat here from Florida? Is anyone here in southern Florida or central Florida that could be in the path of this thing? Okay, so here's some of the pictures that we pulled up today. So this was this was, I mean, this just shows you some of the mounds of sand that we had. This was an apartment complex that was I mean, look at that. That's me right there on top. And I'm a tall dude. I'm 6'4", and that's me on top of this giant sand dune. This is a swimming pool that was being excavated with and I think it'll show you the next picture. Yeah, it was being excavated with like a bulldozer. That is a if you can see right in the lower portion of the screen, right in there. That, I mean, there's like 6 feet. Look at that. That's 5 feet. There's 5 feet of sand in that swimming pool. And if I zoom in a little bit too, there is water. And I think I have to hide. Let me see if I can hide my screen real quick, or I'll move my camera out of the way. That is water right there in the bottom of that swimming pool. So that was, the ocean just came on shore there, and there's been water that's part of the ocean that's just sitting down there in that particular swimming pool. So that is from Hurricane Milton, guys, which was weeks ago, and this is in southwest Florida, where, you know, this was another image where it's just like, I mean, there's just mountains of sand still on the beach from that past hurricane. So I can tell you right now, the people of Florida are still cleaning up from Milton. This was, I mean, we were over 200 miles away from the center of Milton, and this is what it looked like. So I can tell you right now, the people of Florida we don't need another hurricane. We don't want another hurricane. We don't want any part of it. So I think we're all kind of hoping that this does not happen again. But if it does, I'll be the first to kind of tell you what we're looking at and what we could expect. But I mean, Dan, look at those pictures. That's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it caused a lot of destruction, you know, all up and down the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, it did. So those are, I mean, that's from 5 feet of storm surge, guys. If, you know, we're talking, if scenario 1 comes to pass, we'll probably be talking about 10 feet, maybe more, somewhere along the coast of Florida. And that is just something that the people of Florida don't need that. We're done. We're done with hurricane season. We don't want any part of it. We're over it. Here's a video that also I took from the system. Yeah, this is the backhoe that's literally just scooping water out of that pool. And there's like a rebarb thing right there that's just like stuck in the pool from the wind blowing it. So pretty wild. I think you should, Caitlin. You should definitely you should put your protective barrier if you can. We gotta keep it away. That's for sure. Oh man. Anyone in the chat? You guys got any questions? Anyone down here in Florida? Anyone ready for hurricane season to be over? I think I am, Dan. What do you think? Are you ready for this all to be over?
Yeah, I'm ready for spring.
Yeah. Dan, you're not even ready for winter, my friend?
No. There was a Salvation Army bell ringer today at the store, and it was like 75 degrees outside.
Are you kidding? That is hilarious. Oh my God. I can't. But what about snow though, Dan? Don't you like snow? Guys, who's ready for winter? Carly says, send the hurricane to me. Carly, are you kidding me? Oh, who knows? It may end up coming to you as a post-tropical system, Carly. I wouldn't doubt it. I would definitely not doubt it. That's for sure.
We don't get a lot of snow in Dallas. We get primarily ice.
That's a good point. It's a good point, Dan. That's a really good point. So you're just like, I'm done. I don't even want winter.
Yeah, I'm ready for some chases.
Well, Well, you'll get. I mean, you'll get some in the winter, right? Maybe I guess around now you're getting some, and then come March.
Yeah, I got out not too long ago, West Texas, eastern New Mexico. That's the I
Okay.
think the night that I met up with Vince.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, Green Frogger says, "Can we bypass winter straight to spring?" Carly says, "I'd rather have the hurricane than Florida." Caleb says, "Ice, ice, baby." Sanja says, "My friend in Tampa is talking about moving once he's done with hurricanes." Yeah, you know, yeah, that's a very popular sentiment down here. Um, Sanja, I think everyone that I've talked to is just like, we're done. We don't want any more. We don't want any more hurricanes, and we're gonna probably move if we get another one. I have a couple of friends that I've been talking to and I'm in a chat with that I will send them videos of just like I'll send them the videos I make, but they're just done with it. So, but I don't think anyone wants this. I don't think anyone wants this because it's just a all. Think about all that sand, guys. That was all inland. They actually pulled that back. So that just kind of shows you the power of the ocean and how it just moves stuff. So, Caitlin, I have not watched the Polar Express. I don't think. Actually, maybe I have. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, here's what I'm watching over the next couple of days, and I wanted to give you, and probably let me pull this up and I can just draw on the map here to show you, because this will be if you're watching the satellite. And let me maybe zoom out just a little bit. If you're watching visible satellite, if you're going to be watching this over the next couple of days, what I would watch for is check once the center of Sara becomes more consolidated. Once it actually forms into a tropical storm, gets a little bit more organized. Let me play. I don't know why it's not playing. But once the system of Sara gets a little bit more organized and starts moving off to the west, watch how close it gets to the coast. Watch how, if it moves onshore in Honduras, if the center moves onshore in Honduras, that's going to be a big sign that this system is going to probably take scenario 2. If, for example, if all of a sudden the center of Sara starts to pull a little bit north, right, or kind of maybe takes this track, starts to move a little bit like that, then scenario 1 is probably more at play, right? And that would be bad for Florida, and that would really take the ceiling of this thing really high. So it's going to be a really close call, and wherever the center of Sara forms, that is going to determine the future, right? If the center forms a little bit further to the north, we're in trouble. If the center forms a little bit further to the south, or it kind of keeps on the same track it's been going, then Florida will be a little bit. Florida will be better than it would be. Florida would be. There probably wouldn't be a major hurricane that would impact Florida. Maybe a tropical storm or a low end Cat 1 or 2. But we got a long way to go. We've got a lot of watching. This is only Wednesday, and we've got. I mean, we're talking about not even till Tuesday or Wednesday next week when this system would impact the U.S. So we've got almost a week left of watching the models. I mean, it's crazy, Dan, that we're talking about this system almost over a week away. That's how consistent a lot of the models have been. And it's going to be one to watch. I will be keeping my eye on this. I will be keeping both my eyes and both my ears on this. For those that aren't interested in the weather and just kind of want to be told when it's going to get bad, I'll tell you when it's going to get bad. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Guys, thank you for everyone joining this stream. Make sure you smash the like button. If you are here for the first time, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I might be going live every day depending on how things are looking. So look for me to possibly go live around the same time tomorrow. And we'll kind of take a look at how things are progressing. But in the meantime, every single one of you is beautiful. So thank you for joining. And Dan, you got any final words for the people before we wrap up? Any advice to people watching this storm?
I don't have a lot of advice. Just keep your eyes and ears open and watch Stormcat 5.
There you go. That's good advice, Dan. And watch and check out Dan too. Dan's got some great content over on his YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that as well, Dan. You go ahead and put that in the chat. Guys, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the time. I love all of you. I will see you on the next one, hopefully tomorrow. And we also have the podcast tomorrow. So do check us out tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to join for the podcast. But I do want to say I love all of you and have a wonderful night. Peace out, guys. Peace.
Take care, y'all.
Everyone dance.